May 24th, 2015 to April 30th, 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mrs. Rachel Notley.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. What an amazing crowd. You guys look like you've all got to bed super early last night and are ready to spend a long day listening to more speakers. So that's excellent. I want to begin, of course, by acknowledging that we are gathered here today on the traditional territory of the signatories to Treaty 7, and of course to recognize the Métis people of Alberta who share such a deep connection with this land. And I want to thank you so much, Trina, for that warm introduction. And I'd also like to thank Kathy and the entire Muni board for having me here today. It is great. Very great to be back because, as you may recall, I actually missed your March meeting, and in my place, you had to listen to Joe Ceci and his jokes, and I'm sorry for that. I feel like I owe everyone here that apology for subjecting you to Joe's version of humor. What was it that you said, Joe? Your remarks were short, but not as short as me? Is it too late to reverse that nomination? Yes. Well, that's unfortunate. Anyway, in all seriousness, Joe and I, we work well together. I have his back, and I know he has mine. Certainly, he sees an awful lot of it on the running trail with me. I'm kidding, of course, except for that last piece, but I do want you to all know that Joe is a strong, strong voice for the issues that matter to you in our caucus. And I also want to acknowledge our other caucus members who are here today, our justice critic Irfan Sabir and our transportation critic Lauren Dack. Give us a wave wherever you are. I kind of see, there we go, over there. I have to say it is such a pleasure for me to work alongside these MLAs as part of a larger caucus that is united, that works collaboratively together, and that is focused solely on making life better for Albertans. And not to get too partisan off the top, but as my team looks to grow in the coming election, I also feel very privileged to be running alongside a few new folks whose names some of you might recognize. Former Calgary Councillor Drew Farrell, who's running for us in Calgary-Bow, Lethbridge City Councillor Rob Miyashiro in Lethbridge East, Red Deer City Solicitor Michelle Bear in Red Deer South, Sturgeon County Councillor Karen Shaw in Morinville, St. Albert, and Strathcona County Councillor Bill Tanita in Strathcona Sherwood Park, and that's just so far. And the thing of it is that's so great is that, like all of you, those folks are deeply committed to public service, and I feel very fortunate to have them on our team. Now, as I was saying, it's been more than a year since I was last here, and a lot has happened since that time. Bob Dylan once sang, the times they are changing, and if I didn't already know better, he really could have been singing about 2022. Already this year, we've shared immense relief to see the global pandemic beginning to subside. We've welcomed new Ukrainian Canadians as we stand together against Vladimir Putin's illegal war in Ukraine. And just recently, we've mourned the passing of Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, marking the end of her extraordinary reign and ushering in a new king. So this is a time of change, and that is also very much the case here in Alberta. After a deep recession where our province struggled with the drop in the international price of oil, we're now seeing prices rebound. And as a result of that, there are positive economic signs. But we're also seeing some urgent challenges like inflation and serious problems in healthcare at a time when Albertans need our healthcare the most. These are urgent issues that need the focus and the attention of everyone who is hoping to lead this province as Premier. And in this time of change, I believe we need to tackle these challenges and build these opportunities together. And in that spirit, today I want to talk to you about some of what you could expect should Albertans choose us to form government again, and should I have the privilege to serve again as Premier. When it comes to inflation, we need to do more, quite honestly, to create some breathing room for Alberta families. This crisis in the cost of living, it's hurting our communities. Recent surveys show more families are reporting financial stress. Some are even taking on new household debt to meet household monthly obligations. 1 in 5 households are actually food insecure. I had the great privilege and opportunity to visit Leduc over the summer, and while there, I also visited the food bank. And the director told me that they were seeing a 25% increase in clients, many of whom were working and many of whom had never used a food bank before. Now, you might recall that when I spoke with you a couple of years ago, I warned of the threat posed by a lopsided recovery, one where Albertans are left behind even as certain parts of the economy shoot forward. And folks, I'm concerned that we are well on our way to that kind of outcome. And so we just can't let this go on. So my team and I have been pushing this government to do more, and of course we will continue to do that as long as we are in the role we're in right now. But if we get the opportunity, we will also act. We will reverse many of the current policies that are placing additional costs on to regular families and their budgets. And this means doing things like capping car insurance, lowering tuition, cutting school fees, addressing the tuition crisis, restoring the seniors drug plan, and not downloading costs onto you folks, forcing some of you to raise property taxes. We'll look for ways to bring utility bills down because we know that power prices are going to spike again this winter, and we'll still be high when the rebate program ends in December. So we'll do everything it takes to put more money back in the pockets of working parents, seniors, and Albertans with disabilities. And we'll do these things because to me and to my team, it is not a recovery if people can't afford to put food on the table. And what happens when we fail to address these kinds of cost of living issues is that more people are pushed into financial hardship or indeed right over the edge into poverty. And when more people struggle with poverty, with mental health and addictions issues, quite honestly, the whole community feels it. And I know that you as local leaders know that. I've heard from you about the need for the province to take a much greater role in addressing these kinds of issues. And that means acting on municipal priorities around combating the opioid crisis and building affordable housing. We understand that access to affordable housing is an absolutely fundamental part of ending houselessness, and we can't do it without the provincial government stepping up to make serious investments towards ending houselessness. Not only does this work ensure stronger communities where businesses can grow and people can move around those communities feeling safe, it saves money and it saves actual lives. Now, I want to talk a bit about healthcare as well, because here too, we actually have quite a lot of work to do. For instance, every single province out there is working right now to recruit more doctors. Every single province actually is feeling healthcare stress and strain. But it's only in Alberta that doctors still don't have a contract and haven't for the past 3 years, causing many physicians to either retire early or pack up and hit the road. So we need to not only get that deal done, and I know we're close, but we need to also reset the relationship and focus on the hard work of attracting doctors and, quite frankly, all sorts of frontline health professionals to Alberta and to all of your communities. The fact is, we've seen that shortage in all frontline professionals lead to hospital wait times rising across the province. And over the summer, for instance, multiple repeated closures or cancellation of services altogether. Airdrie's ER was closed overnight and weekends all summer long, as was Stettler, Elk Point, Bassano, and half a dozen other communities. There were temporary pauses on obstetric care in places like Rocky Mountain House and Fort Saskatchewan. And even today, you still can't deliver a baby in Whitecourt or Edson. Age has just announced the hospital in Consort, which hasn't accepted new patients since August, won't be admitting patients in the start of October either. This is simply not sustainable for so many communities across the province. And where the hospitals are open, Albertans are waiting way too long to get to them because EMS is in an unprecedented crisis as well. This summer, we saw 14 ambulances lined up outside the Red Deer Regional Hospital. And just recently in Calgary, we heard the story of a 14-year-old minor hockey player who took a bad hit and laid on the ice for more than 45 minutes waiting for an ambulance. And you know who finally took him to the hospital? The municipal fire crew. Your firefighters are increasingly being called in to provide frontline health care, and this is unacceptable. So, folks, we can all see these problems. Now, with an Alberta NDP government, you will have a true partner that is focused on solving those problems. And that partnership will extend to our fiscal relationship as well. Right now, as you've heard, Alberta has a $13 billion surplus on the back of another oil and gas windfall, and it may even climb higher. We all know the bumper sticker, God grant me another boom, and well, I won't repeat the rest. I'm being told these days to dial back the, say, creativity of my vocabulary. But we must ask ourselves, how do we balance investing in our future and saving for it at the same time? Put another way, how do we make all of this last? Now, contrary to the claims of some, my party agrees that a majority of this surplus must be saved for future generations and applied against the debt. But we would also ensure that we work with all of you to address urgent issues in your communities. And part of that is making sure that you have stable, predictable funding from the province. Now, under our proposed Partners in Prosperity Act, the one we first brought to you last fall, in draft form obviously, we would have a new funding formula where both orders of government share in the bad times and the good. One accomplished through fulsome, good faith negotiations. One where you can rely on that deal after we sign it. True revenue sharing enshrined in the law. This would give you folks more support and, quite frankly, more say in the work that you do as local leaders, who, of course, we know have the strongest lines of accountability to your community and to your voters. So this is all of Alberta's prosperity, and we should all be sharing in it. Because with that as our foundation, we can also then truly focus our attention onto maintaining and growing our economic momentum. Now, GDP forecasts are up, and next year, Alberta will turn on the first new oil pipeline to Tidewater in 50 years, the Trans Mountain Expansion. A pipeline, I will add, that was not achieved by threatening lawsuits or angry tweeting at Ottawa, but rather one that was achieved together through the hard work of persuading our fellow Canadians. Alberta municipalities helped lead that change, forging important relationships with leaders in other provinces. And it's that kind of strategic and deliberate effort that we need as we pursue economic diversification and create good mortgage-paying jobs in this province. Now, I won't give you the spiel about albertasfuture.ca again today, other than to say, please visit www.albertasfuture.ca, because there you will find many detailed policy proposals and ideas in many economic areas, some of which I will admit haven't necessarily always been typical of New Democrats. Today, for instance, we have a strong plan for agriculture, focusing on expanding our opportunities in agri-food and removing barriers that hold producers back. We have a plan for post-secondary education that stops the brain drain and addresses the skilled trade shortage while making it more affordable. We have a plan for new tax credits that will draw investment to our province and grow our tech industry and others strategically. We have plans for energy development, getting more value out of our oil and gas, while also exploring new opportunities in hydrogen and geothermal and bitumen beyond combustion and renewable energy in your communities. We have an infrastructure plan that is built around funding local priorities so we can work together on those big projects: roads, bridges, public transit, rec centers, flood prevention, wastewater systems, you name it. And we also have an ambitious plan to bring broadband internet to every corner of the province. Now, it is 2022, and the days of parking lot Wi-Fi must be over. This is a big project, and I know work by the province is now underway, and many of you are working with them on it. But we've also heard from many of you that it's just not moving fast enough, and we are currently at least a year behind schedule. So I want to assure you that if there is a change in government, we will commit the resources to getting this job done. We won't slow down on this. Just like our internet, this work must be sped up. So we can capitalize on all these opportunities and so many more. But folks, to do that, we need stable leadership. Now, I know that's what each of you work to provide Albertans with every day, by doing your best to listen, to collaborate, and to avoid dysfunction. Because when an Albertan pokes you in the back at the hockey game or the soccer game and asks you what you're doing on an issue of deep importance to them, you don't turn around and blame someone else. You own it, because you care about solving it. And that's what we need from our next provincial government too. And frankly, between now and then, I have to say, I don't actually think the instability and infighting is going to end on October 6th. I think it may get worse. The Sovereignty Act, or whatever it ultimately turns into, you know, where Alberta rails against the rule of law and premiers decide what is and isn't legal. I will tell you folks, this little rabbit hole is bad for Alberta. It is a recipe for instability, for capital flight, for legal challenges and job losses in your communities, in local areas, on local projects. At best, it becomes a constitutional mess that gets a lot of media coverage but helps precisely no one. And at worst, imagine this: Alberta no longer follows federal law. Suddenly, other provinces decide to follow suit. What happens to TMX when BC passes their version of the Sovereignty Act? Let's just think about that one for a moment, my friends. Do we really want to create a new tool for BC's toolbox? I don't think so. So folks, this is not only a deeply unserious approach to these serious issues, it is also fundamentally dishonest with the people we serve. And no one seeking the premiership should behave this way. I believe that good governance is based on facts, evidence, transparency, accountability, listening, and responsiveness. Groundbreaking. Groundbreaking ideas, I know, real woke radical left stuff. But my friends, we need to get back basically to common sense leadership and stable public service focused government. So finally, I'm going to leave you with some thoughts on what I won't do. I'm not going to create uncertainty by passing unconstitutional legislation to make a point. Instead, I'll draw investment here by being a tireless advocate for Alberta at home and abroad. I'm not going to bring more chaos into our healthcare system. Instead, I'm going to work with frontline healthcare providers to rebuild it and refortify it. I'm not going to throw out programs that are working for partisan reasons. For instance, I'll keep UCP programs that are working, like, for instance, the film and TV tax credit. I'm not going to fund a war room when we actually need reinforcements in the classroom and the emergency room. And you know what else, my friends? I am not going to blow up the RCMP in this province. And what do I mean? What do I mean by that? Let me be clear. Let me use that overused political statement. Let me be clear. I won't do another study. I won't think about it. I won't delay it. And I won't say one thing now and do another thing after the election. I simply will not do it because it was never a good idea. And I am not ever going to endorse a plan that sees hundreds of millions of dollars go toward repainting cars and changing the signs on detachments. I won't download new costs onto your constituents or gaslight you about who's actually going to pay for it. You know, we ran the numbers, and here's what it looks like if you get stuck with the bill. For a family of 4 in Airdrie, a provincial police force adds $700 to their property tax. Same with Fort Saskatchewan. In Red Deer, it's $500. In Canmore, it's $1,000. So I won't do it. I will work with you and the RCMP to fix issues because together, I know we can make policing better. So overall, you know, we can focus on pragmatic solutions to today's problems, and you will be respected for the leaders that you are, because that is what good governance means to me. So folks, you know, there is more to it, but broadly speaking, those are some of the key things we'll be offering to the people of Alberta in the next election. It's an approach that's grounded in the Alberta we all recognize, an Alberta that is compassionate, determined, hardworking, and hopeful. I want to thank you all for the work that you do in your communities as leaders, and I'm so grateful to be able to be here to address you all today. We're booking meetings, and my team would be pleased to speak with any of you about issues in your community because, as I said at the beginning, these times, they are changing. And if Alberta chooses to change its government, I have a team that is ready to lead its future. I love Alberta. This is my home, and I will never stop working to make it better. I know that you won't either. Thank you all so much, and I hope that you've had a wonderful convention and you all get lots of rest once you get home. Thank you all.
Much for watching, and to learn more, check out albertasfuture.ca.